Hey, you dorks, this is Gunnar Hansen, Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and you are listening to The Dorkening.
Hi, I'm Brian Johnson, and although you probably accidentally stumbled across it and have no idea why you're watching it, you are in fact watching The Dorkening.
Hello, this is Tom Kenny, voice actor, the voice of the Ice King on Adventure Time, and SpongeBob SquarePants. Meow. Oh, Gary the Snail, too. Hey, guess what you're filling your eye holes and ear holes with? The Dorkening! Oh, I love the Dorkening. Very popular in Ooh. And Bikini Bottom.
Hi, I'm Lou Ferrigno. You're watching The Dorkening. And you know what? You don't like me when I get angry, so don't get me angry. You better keep watching The Dorkening.
Hey guys, this is Felissa Rose, and you're watching The Dorkening.
Hey guys, it's Courtney Palm. We're shooting Death House, and you're watching The Dorkening.
This is Anthony Michael Hall, and you're watching The Dorkening. Stay tuned. My friend's going to show you what entertainment's all about, baby.
The Dorkening.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Rise and shine, my sinners. When Father Evil starts his day, he gets a little deadly. Deadly Grounds coffee has the richest, smoothest flavor you'll find anywhere. It's sinfully delicious. Once you go deadly, you never go back. Order yours at getdeadly.com. Coffee's so good, it's scary.
Hey, welcome to Creator Spotlight. My name is Leo, the dork behind the keyboard, monkey behind the keyboard. Happy Monday. I hope everybody's doing well. As always, Patsy, how's it going, my friend?
Well, it's going pretty well. I was able to track down the Quint NECA figure, NECA, I don't know. At
I'm so happy you got that.
Oh, so am I. Like, it was like $900, but you know,
hey, it's worth it. Yeah.
I sold one of my livers. So, all right.
Philip.
Hey, how's it going, Leo? I'm here to talk about something that's on my shirt for folks who are curious. Yeah, we're getting ready for it. I'm happy to do so and glad to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you. Just to give you a heads up, tonight's guest does have a Kickstarter going on. So if you like what you hear, definitely click the button up above or down below, depending on where you're watching or listening to us. And we urge you to definitely support indie creators. Speaking of indie creators, who do we have today?
Well, contrary to popular belief, we are not talking about the wire that's running across Phil's shirt. That actually connects to his headphone, so I don't want anybody at home to be confused.
That's true.
We are actually going to be talking to Iko the Rain Man, who has an awesome project going on right now for a franchise.
What's going on, guys?
Near and dear to me. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm very interested to pick your brain about this project.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on. It's an absolute honor. So I know I'm dealing with experts here, so I'm gonna try to behave.
Excellent. Now I want to start off here with an important question here. Now we're going to be talking about Silent Hill. For anybody who is familiar with Silent Hill, or not familiar, I should say, Silent Hill is an awesome video game, it's a franchise. My personal favorite horror game of all time from Konami in Japan, but. My question for you, Iko, is you're making some sort of movie. Is this a fan film, or is this actually going to be sponsored by somebody?
No, so, when we were originally writing this movie, It was me and my friend Renzo, and we were trying to come up with a movie that was self-contained within a location to be able to save on money. The more you travel within film, the more expensive it gets. And a few years ago, me and my buddy were working on a music video, and I told him that, if I was ever a huge Hollywood director, I would kind of do what M. Night Shyamalan did with creating a sequel to, or creating a movie that nobody knew really what the movie was until the ending of the movie. So I was just like, it'd be cool if we made a horror movie, then at the end of the movie, you find out that the whole movie took place in Silent Hill. And then once I said that out loud, that idea just couldn't go away. So it's what started off late last year as a fan film became sort of like a spiritual successor. Because a lot of times when you're dealing with fan films, a lot of people have their hesitancy with, making a fan film. So we did everything but have stuff that would probably legally get us in trouble. So we're still playing around with the ending. I don't want to spoil what the ending is. So depending on what we can get away with without actually, breaching any sort of like licensing issue with Konami, it's very much a Silent Hill movie, all but in name. So it's Ash, which obviously stands for a Silent Hill. Pardon my rant.
No, that's what this whole thing's about. Like, give us as much information as you can. Now, the stuff behind you, is that props for the film, or is that like your own personal collection?
No, I'm actually house sitting for my parents right now. So they're I'm in my father's garage, and he's a farmer, so he has like bow and arrows and like farmer equipment like everywhere. So no props. That is hoard up in the studio somewhere.
No, see, that the proper response was supposed to be, yes, I hunt men for sport.
Well, also it's a very good zombie fighting equipment. So we have arrows here for practice. So
reusable.
Speaking of zombies, you got the zombie nurses in there, or by any chance? What are you going with?
No, we're trying to avoid using. Well, so here's the thing, though. A lot of times people don't realize that. So each Silent Hill is a self-contained story, except for the first and the third one. So the way Silent Hill works is everyone interprets the monsters in the movie different, or in the video game differently. So everyone sees something differently. So if you were looking at a monster, all four of us would see something differently. Mm-hmm. So there is no Pyramid Head. And actually, even the creator of Silent Hill said that, like, Pyramid Head cannot exist outside of Silent Hill 2. It manifested within one person. So, and I think that goes the same thing for the nurses, but there is an aesthetic that Silent Hill monsters have that we're very much going for with some of the creatures. And I think we have, here, let me pull up one of the test shots we did yesterday for one of the monsters. Here.
Oh, that's very cool. Yeah, like the faceless design.
Wow. Yeah, it's faceless. It kind of has a little bit of the Japanese horror to it. It's not the final look. We were still playing around with it yesterday, and we're doing another test shot tomorrow. So we're just finalizing to see how these things look like on camera. It's very important to me that when I made this movie, that the monsters wasn't something that was plot driven. Think of them as pieces in the painting that, it's so someone losing their mind. So it's things that is just like surrounding him. It's not particularly something that is like the boogeyman that requires the plot to drive forward. It's really a psychological element, which I think is really what the heart of Silent Hill is just someone like losing their shit.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Are you going to go with the like over the top exaggerated movements as well? Like maybe film somebody, walking in reverse, and then reverse that and have them so it looks like they're
herky jerky.
Yeah, like very unnatural and unsettling. Where it's like, yeah, they're just walking, but it's like they're walking in a really unnatural way. That's just so.
We're off. It was funny. I was talking to my cinematographer yesterday and our production designer, and The twitching effect. Have you guys seen Jacob's Ladder?
Yes, you have.
Of course, yeah. And I think that was the movie that sort of popularized the monsters twitching. Silent Hill is very much a product of Jacob's Ladder, as a creator will tell you. And I think we will have some of that movement. We were practicing some of the movement yesterday, but it's not. I don't want to say too much because a lot of these monsters are going to be. They're more of set pieces as something that you're. A lot of times, there's going to be monsters in this movie that you have to sort of look for on screen. We wanted to do like a Where's Waldo type of thing where there are certain scenes going on and there's something in the background watching them, but you have to sort of like look for it. So that was a very important aesthetic that we're going for. So the movement of the monsters, that's still a little bit up for interpretation, to be completely honest.
Now, let me ask also, because the visuals, as PJ just brought out with the monsters and whatnot, but what about the sound? As we know, Silent Hill has two things that really are awesome besides the monsters and the gameplay, which is the siren and then also the music. Now, are you going to try to do that aesthetic? I think that's a word. Yes, thank you for the music. And also, are you going to have the siren go off, or the foghorn, or well, actually, it's a hurricane siren is pretty much what it is.
Like an air raid siren.
Yeah, air raid siren. Yeah, exactly.
There is a moment where you do hear the siren. One of the things that we did wanted to keep going within the movie is this radio that keeps bothering the main character.
Yeah, so they're going to have the radio too, yeah, when you get near monsters.
Yeah,
I mean, that was the greatest thing of the first game. When I first played that game, I was like, oh my God, this is awesome, because of that.
I sort of took a little bit of all the radio elements within Silent Hill and even PT itself, which is one of my favorite things ever. I'll give you a little spoiler. In the beginning of the movie, one of the characters is driving to the main location of the movie, and his radio is just going crazy. He's not reacting to it, but really what we're doing is playing with, and going back to sound. Sound is arguably the most important thing that this movie is going to require. We're pretty confident that we're going to be able to capture the visuals that we want. Our cinematographers are fantastic. We're filming in a beautiful location. It's a hidden town in the middle of nowhere, Sheridan, Wyoming. And we're going to have an original score. We already do have some music that's going for it. The siren does make its brief but very well-known presence towards the end of the movie when there is another incident with a radio. But no, sound is arguably, I would probably say, the second or third most difficult thing that we're going to have to deal with. But we have really great sound designers and engineers on board with us. And I come from the musical world as well, so we already have some original music for this, but we're waiting to be able to have the footage laid out for us to be able to continue to create more songs for this movie.
What about the effects of the alternate world? Are you going to be able to do that, or?
So we're not doing that. We're trying to keep this within premise, in the sense of I don't want to explain too much, but I guess I have to. What we're doing is we're creating something that is taking place more within the fog world of Silent Hill. I think if you try to go too crazy with special effects, especially within an indie movie, you're risking campiness and something that is just special effects driven. Although I do very much like the Silent Hill movies that came out, the other two, they have their charm to it. I think relying too much on special effects is, it's not what we're going for. Although we are using special effects to be able to get some fog, to be able to create some light and some atmosphere. There's one part of the movie where our haunted house lights up like a classic painting that you would see, where all the windows are just beaming with a certain color. So we're keeping it dreamlike. It's like a long fever dream.
Yeah,
What this movie is.
And I definitely think that, you can achieve things, practically that, you don't necessarily have to use special effects. And especially, I think the biggest thing with an indie, or not so much indie, but a lower budget horror film, if you have the sound right and you have the atmosphere correct. So like, the sound is a huge component to it. If you can get that, play on the old, I know they always say show don't tell, but if you're not showing it, the thing that's scary, the monster that's in the woods, if you don't see it, your mind races. What could it be? And it's going to be something that each individual person, like in the game, each individual person is going to see a different manifestation of whatever emotion happens to be getting preyed upon at the time. If you're using, less is more type of, yes, Justin, just like Jaws, making it more suspenseful, because as soon as you show the creature, as soon as you give it a form, that, it's like, all right, well, it's a giant spider. It's like, well, I'm not scared of spiders, so that doesn't bother me. All right, it's a scorpion. I don't care about scorpions either. But if it's, something that's not seen, this shapeless, formless horror, like something from Lovecraft, each one of us is going to imagine something different. Like Leo's going to imagine a shark in his bathtub. And
yeah, I was always the guy in horror movies where when you find out too much what's going on, or when they start showing too much, that's when it's not as scary.
Mm-hmm.
But those teases, like those first 40 to 50 minutes of like, Sinister or like Insidious, like it's just amazing. But then, by the final act of a lot of those movies, when it's just like, oh, here's our monster, here's, I always just, I was like, oh man, I hate that personally, even though I love those movies. So that, again, I have my own critique with horror movies that I'm trying to, that I very much took into consideration when I wrote this movie.
Now, I have to say that, like you said, lower budget film, so you have to improvise a bit. So you're going to stick with the fog world. Honestly, I think that's probably the best route anyway, because just as you said, with movies, the fog world, especially in game 1 of Silent Hill, for the first hour before you enter the school, and then you switch over to the alternate world. Spoiler alert for a game that now is almost 20 years old. I think the effect of the fog world was what really brought everybody into the game. And then even though the alternate world is cool, it still doesn't, in my opinion, hold up against the fog world. So I think that's kind of what's good with some indie films, is if you don't have the budget to do what you want to do, you have to improvise, and as a result, the films sometimes are usually better. Are you really working your money and your funding and whatnot to best of your ability without trying to go overboard and make something that could kind of flop, in a sense, if you know what I'm talking about?
No, absolutely. And I almost forgot to go into your question earlier, Philip, about the fog world. Every Silent Hill has interpreted what is Silent Hill a little bit differently. In my perception, Silent Hill is just that perimeter of hell. So anyone who wanders into it is going to see it differently. One of the funny things about the fog world is, like, the reason why they created a fog world in the original PlayStation game was because they couldn't make like a really big draw distance, because they were limited on technology. So they're just like, well, let's just make everything spooky by creating this fog, and it just became like this like element of Silent Hill that you can't get away from. But in Silent Hill 4, there is no real fog world. There's this really weird sort of random horror that is Silent Hill. So for instance, Silent Hill 4, you just wake up in the room, and then one day there's just a hole in your bathroom. And it's just, you're like, you can't leave your house. There's no real explanation as to why you're locked inside of your house. You're just living inside of your house for a few days. And then one day there's a hole in your bathroom. You go in through that hole and you're in Silent Hill. There is no transformation. And I think even if I had the budget, I would not.
Just for interjection there, Silent Hill 4 was originally supposed to be a standalone game not related to Silent Hill, and then it was only later in its production they said, hey, let's make this a Silent Hill game. So that's one of the reasons why it's a little different than the rest of the games. But it's now part of the franchise. So
it's the Mario 2 of horror games, right?
It's weird because I did hear that story originally, but then I heard that story is not true, but I hear conflicting reports. So I don't know. Like they say, I think because, here's what the story is. For Team Silent, there's 2 developers. There was sort of like the top tier guys, the ones who did like the first 3. Yeah. And then there's sort of like B team, like the new guys did Silent Hill 4. And I think that was sort of the misconception that went around, because for a long time that's what the rumor was, and it started off as something else. But no, even in PT, like if you just take that as a standalone thing, there is no fog world, there is no transformation. It's just every time the thing loops, it just gets weird and glitchy, and like it starts to act like a computer simulation. And I don't know, I think that allows me to be able to sort of do what my interpretation of Silent Hill is for this individual who is in his own infinite hell, if you will.
Right, and that makes sense because, like you said, it's the world of Silent Hill. You're not really focusing on the specific monsters or obviously characters from what we've seen in the video game. So. That makes sense. That makes sense that you would want to do your own thing, and you can work it in the way you want to, because again, it's a universe rather than specific creatures in the universe.
You won't have that comparison. I'll be completely honest with you. If we were able to have a successful project, my ultimate goal, and just to pitch you one of the ideas and many foundations of this project, was a proof of concept that we were going to bring with some of our connections to Netflix to sort of be like, listen, we can do a low budget anthology series based on Silent Hill. And this project serves a couple purposes. It serves the purpose that me and my team are able to create a narrative. We're tired of filming commercials and music videos. We just want to tell stories. If we're able to create a successful narrative, it's able to further all of our careers. And then on the back end, treating this thing like a product, I'm like, okay, well, as a standalone film, this is good for everyone who works on it. But then if it's successful, I could go knocking to Netflix's door and being like, listen, I could shoot you like Black Mirror, Twilight Zone style Silent Hill episodes, 6 episodes, 5 episodes, all like an hour long, 45 minutes. And they're just very self-contained stories. They don't have to be based off of the games themselves, because I think the games are masterpieces. I think trying to do an adaptation or retelling of any of those games, you're always going to have, your comparisons, your criticisms. But, I mean, if one of those games were to be like adapted, I would actually want to be the one to do it. But who knows? Whatever. This is me bragging.
Well, I think that makes sense, especially if it's something that you're passionate about and it's something that you have, it's like this is a specific vision. I think there's so many times that properties get adapted to the big screen or adapted for, a limited run series, and the people that are doing it aren't necessarily fans of the source material. They're just like, how can we angle this and tell the story in a formulaic way that it appeals to the broadest audience possible, as opposed to let's make this, like I love the Resident Evil films. I know they have very little to do with the games, but every now and then it's like, we should throw in let's throw in Leon and Ada Wong and let's do it's like like those characters are cool, but the way you use them are not quite the same way that they should be used in that's not how they're used in the game. Like they're you have them relegated to like
the movies turn into post-apocalypse, right? Well, the games don't really go there
as they go along. Yeah.
It's funny you say that, because the creator of I forgot the guy who created Pyramid Head, he hates that Pyramid Head is used outside of Silent Hill 2. Like, he hates it. He's like, it's not supposed to be in anything else besides Silent Hill 2. He's like, you don't get it. So yeah, I think
well, he created a iconic monster, so that's what happens when you do that. Yeah.
It's funny too. Have you guys seen the fan film or the short film Never Hike Alone or Never Hike in the Snow?
I have not.
I just wanted to give a shout out to the director of that movie, Vincent, who it's a Friday the 13th fan film.
Yes.
Okay. I know what you're talking about now.
He is actually one of our executive producers that's working on this project with us, and he's one of the people that I reached out to early on in this project. I wanted to give him a shout out because he was the one that sort of told me that this project would make more sense as a self-contained spiritual successor to Silent Hill, because when he was funding and working on Never Hike Alone, he was telling me that like a lot of people, because he worked with a lot of professionals to be able to make that movie happen. He was just saying like it's tough to sell a fan film. So now I can't wait to see what he's able to do with our vision and the script that we have. So we have him who's on board. He did Never Hike Alone, and he also did Never Hike in the Snow. And then we have another one of our executive producers, which is Bobby Sigworth, and he worked on Miner's Mountain, which is available on YouTube for you guys to watch for free. Which shout out to Bennett, who directed that movie. Honestly, like if I did get a Silent Hill thing going with Netflix with directed episodes, I'd have to bring Bennett on board because Miner's Mountain is absolutely fantastic. So I think if you guys have like 15 minutes to kill and you want to watch something really spooky, you should go check that movie out.
Nice. I want to remind everybody that we are talking about A Silent Hill. There's information in the show notes up above or down below, depending on where you're watching or listening to us. It has a Kickstarter going on right now. So as you know, we love supporting indie creators. So definitely go check it out. And if you love supporting indie creators as well, definitely give them a go. And, as of support, we do have some sponsors for the network here. And actually, we have a con coming up shortly. But you know what? Here's some information about it.
Meanwhile, near Terrificon.
Hey, how are you?
Swell.
What brings you to the ER?
This is the ER?
Mm-hmm.
Some joker down the hallway told me this was the phlebotomy lab.
Tough day at the office.
Something like that.
I'm just here promoting Connecticut's biggest Comic Con.
What's it called?
Terrificon.
Terrific.
Oh, is it ever. With 3 days full of comic book artists and writers, TV and movie stars, costume contests, plus the biggest assembly of dealers of comic book toys and more on July 30th to August 1st.
And how do I get tickets?
Simple, go to Terrificon.com.
I might do just that.
Hey.
Thanks. See you around.
Visit Terrificon.com for all your Terrificon needs.
So, what brings you to the ER?
ER? Some joker down the hallway told me this was the sleep study lab.
We love Terrificon, and you know what? We also love coffee. Here's a zombie talking about coffee.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly.
Use the front door!
Oh, they're so disgusting.
And if you love flavor coffee, definitely check out their Death by Chocolate. And I still need to get the, what is it, the s'mores flavor?
Oh, the toasted s'mores is just phenomenal.
I
still have 2 unopened packages of it because I bought like 5.
Oh, wow. See, I have like 4 bags left of, I think, maple and chocolate. So I think I need to finish that before I place another one.
I haven't been drinking it in the heat. I have to start making the ice stuff.
It's arguably the best coffee commercial I've ever seen in my life. So.
It's probably the best coffee you've ever had too, if you get the chance. So I would highly recommend getting it.
Yeah, it's not over caffeinated, but it has a really awesome flavor, and For ice, you could do what I do. I just I'll make a pot. I'll drink half of it hot, then leave the rest, let it cool down. Throw that with some ice.
Well, I also want to say that if you do want a more highly caffeinated version, they do have all sorts of varieties. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So don't think you're not going to get your caffeine filled with.
You're definitely getting caffeine, but it's not like you get to. You ever have that?
You get the black, the dark, and they give you more.
Well, no, there's these coffees that say like enough caffeine to kill you or stuff like that, and it has like a medical taste.
Really?
Yeah, it's. I'm not going to name names, but I used to work IT, and I used to pop caffeine pills because I was doing like 80-hour weeks. It was insane. Yeah, I found a coffee that touted it was like super caffeinated, and it had that same taste of like the caffeine pills, like a medicated.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I drink a lot of coffee when I'm writing, so until this, gonna be like that for the next few weeks. So
yeah, Deadly Grounds, their flavors are just like whatever the flavor they say is inside the coffee. That's what the flavor is inside the coffee.
Yeah, I've gotten coffee before where like you get like 2 or 3 different flavors and they all kind of taste alike, or they all smell alike. So that's important. That's good.
Yeah.
Totally.
Indeed.
Yeah. Well,
go on, William.
No. I was going to say that was my spiel for our sponsors, and thank you guys for taking your time.
I do want to say that the guy in the ad as R.J. McCready did a great R.J. McCready. Like he sounded a lot like Kurt Russell. Like,
just to be clear, that was you guys who did the commercial, or was that the company?
No, that's for our sponsor.
Oh no, I was wondering if you guys filmed it yourselves, or.
Oh no, I wish.
Oh, okay, yeah, all right. It's still awesome.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so not only are you making the movies, you also had a music industry or a music career as well that was very game related. Are you still producing music, or have you moved fully back onto movies?
It's funny. I've taken music a little bit towards the back turn. I used to treat music as like the thing that I would introduce myself as, but no, I'm still a musician. I'm still writing. I was writing last night. I couldn't quit making music even if I want to. It used to be something that I used to try to push my career forward with. But to be honest with you, I felt more challenged when I was making, when I was involved in production, when I was filming, when I was able to, I think making movies is like the ultimate form of art. And it allowed me to also incorporate my love for music as well. So no, I'm working on another album. It's being written. It's pretty much almost done in regards to like writing and song selections and stuff like that. It's just mind share right now. I can't think of anything else besides this movie. So once that's done, hopefully I'll be able to focus on that a little bit. So that'll be cool.
Now, are you planning on using those skills to help score the film?
No, yes, absolutely. I sat down with my producer. His name is Deshi, and I can't speak enough about him. He's one of the most talented, if not the most talented musician like I've ever met in my life. He's able to sing, write, and produce like as if he's been doing this for hundreds of years. He's absolutely talented, and I'm friends with a lot of musicians. So once we have the music in front of, the visuals in front of us, I'll be able to bring some of my musicians together to be able to create an original score for this. I want something catchy, something that you'll be able to remember. Sticking with violins and a piano as sort of the driving force of the score we're going for, or for at least the one that I have in mind so far.
Nice. Yeah, I followed you on Spotify today. It's very
thank you.
No, I love it. Now it's not necessarily nerdcore, but it's definitely music based on video games. Is like your whole catalog like that, or?
Yeah, my friend AJ Swade would always categorize me as nerdcore. I don't know how to speak without, making references to comic books or video games or to the things that I'm interested in. I'm not particularly talking about like video game stuff, like within like the songs itself. I'm like talking about love interests and my mental health and me and my friends trying to become successful and just our lives. But I use the things that I love to be able to get that message across. So you'll hear like very, very like deep references. Sometimes it gets so like ridiculous where me and my friends who make music, we try to out nerd each other. Where, you know, I had a line where in a song that I wrote where I said, House of X is the only book I've ever read about politicians. And my friend John, who's like a huge X-Men fan, looked at me and he's just like, oh God, I wish I would have said that. So we always have that, like this sort of like Street Fighter video game mentality when one of us comes up with something clever like that. So I absolutely love it. So I speak in nerd formula.
Yeah, well, that's great, and you know, a lot of the best nerdcore songs are, it's just references, you know, like Fet's Vet, you know, or I got the list right up here right now. Luigi's Ballad from Starbomb. There's a lot of them, but it's just a lot of awesome stuff. That's, you know, just
I like the Court of Owls masks in the video.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you know, it's funny too that actually when I created this old music video when I was first making videos, and my friend's like, oh, that looks like Slender Man. And I was like, oh, what's Slender Man? This was like in 2013, 2012. And then he showed me what Slender Man is. And I was like, oh, I can't do that anymore. Someone already did that. And then I took the owl masks and I put them on people with like morph suits, which eventually ended up turning into my logo, where my new design logo, which is basically, it's very Court of the Owls inspired.
Mm-hmm. Oh, nice.
Nice. Yeah. Now, let me ask you about this movie again, because indirectly about it, because obviously the inspiration is Silent Hill. What was your favorite of the Silent Hill games, and what are some of the aspects of the Silent Hill games that you love the most? Because I mean, we mentioned, you know, the fog and things of that nature, but I'm just curious, you know, because I assume a lot of that could be incorporated, you know, as the theme elements.
Well, that's a great question.
Again, it's in that universe.
No, absolutely. My favorite Silent Hill from a visual standpoint is probably Silent Hill 3. I absolutely think that game is beautiful. That's my personal favorite. But if I were to be critical, obviously the best Silent Hill was Silent Hill 2. And that's where I'm taking a lot of the aspirations from in regards to there have been classes like that have been taught on the psychology of Silent Hill 2. There are like very incredibly long, in-depth videos of the themes and the drama and the trauma that the character James Sutherland faces in that movie. So its layers is very deep, and that's something that I wanted to be able to do with my horror movies. I wanted to create something smart, like a smart horror film, you know. So Silent Hill 2 is where I drew I wanted something meaty like Silent Hill 2, but
we're not going to find out it was like a Shiba Inu at the end of the game, like at the end of the movie, right? It's not like a dog doing it the whole time.
No, it's just at the ending of the movie. So like he wakes up and then he walks into the shower and then he tells his wife that he has like this crazy dream, and then, you know, it's pretty much over from there. So I'm kidding. I forgot what movie that's how it ends, where it was all a dream. But yeah.
That would be they did Family Guy like that.
It did, yeah. That's where I was referencing Family Guy, but I always forget what movie they're referencing.
Right. A bunch of shows
like that. Elsewhere did that.
Oh, wasn't it Dallas?
Dallas was one of them.
Yes.
Yeah. It was like an autistic kid with a snow globe the whole time. Like,
yeah, but
right. Bob Newhart. There was one too. The whole thing.
So Newhart was the best one because it was like when he woke up in his other series.
That was awesome.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
That's really meta. Wow.
Yeah, that was pretty meta actually. Meta before meta existed.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question for all of you guys, since I'm new to your show, and I love a good horror podcast. What are some of your favorite horror movies? Just get to know you guys a little bit.
I mean, I have a passing interest in Jaws. I mean,
Really?
it's not like I celebrate it or anything. I'm not like wearing a shark shirt for Shark Week or anything, but yeah, I have passing interest. It's all right.
Well, I'm going to be more original than Patsy because I'm not going to name The Thing and all that crap. I mean, everybody knows those films. I want to talk about more newer films, and even though they're not really new anymore because they're like 8 years old or whatever. But It Follows was an awesome one. That film is absolutely phenomenal for me. It kind of is like what you said, Eco, with where things are not really 100% answered and whatnot. So I thought that was really awesome. Very moody and brooding. So I thought it was cool. So that would be my number one and the most recent stuff. What about you, Leo?
Well, I mean, I don't want to copy Patsy, but for me, I love Jaws as well, but not as much as him. I mean, he's scarily obsessed. But that was like the first horror.
Newer stuff. Everybody's going to say The Exorcist and Jaws and all that stuff. I want to hear new stuff.
I recommend one I just watched recently. It's on Amazon Prime, I think. It's a Prime or Netflix. I don't know. It's one of those. The Super Deep, which is really good. It's about a Russian team that drills into the Antarctic, so you get like the Thing feel to it, but it's like
I actually saw the ad for that, but that looked pretty good.
Really, the creature design at the end, like even though we get to see the creature design is phenomenal. Like then gives you a little bit more of a Thing vibe, but it also has a little bit of The Last of Us, the video game with the cordyceps fungus, and a little bit of The Abyss and Alien, the isolation, and it's good. I liked it quite a bit, and definitely some things that you might not expect. I would also
what's that one called again? The Super Deep, was it?
Yes, like the Super Deep.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write that down. I'm actually really curious.
It's really, really good, and like it's having seen a ton of spaghetti westerns over the last few months, you can tell that some of these people were attempting to speak English lines, but then like they were dubbed over, after the fact, ADR. So like sometimes things don't quite match up because these are all like Russian actors. And they're supposed to be Russian, but they're speaking English because of translation convention. But there's a lot of good stuff in there. I would also recommend, and I just got this today from Witter Entertainment, Psycho Gorman. If you haven't seen it, it's absolutely phenomenal. I got the VHS.
It looks awesome.
It's super bloody. Like there's a lot
of. Is that a hardcover like VHS?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's sexy.
And of course, also let's throw in, because I got this one today too, Willy's Wonderland.
Oh yeah, that was great.
That was great.
So good.
Wait, so is that that's a new print though, correct? Obviously, that's done.
Yes,
what's
it's the hip new thing where they make LPs now. The same thing. They use VHS tapes of new stuff.
Yeah, Limited Run Games does the same thing. They do the stuff like that for like Super Nintendo and like Sega Genesis games. Which is awesome.
It's through Witter Entertainment and Broke Horror Fan. Like I have like Terrifier, VFW, like all these awesome like new films that came out, and they put them on VHS.
VFW is awesome one. That's a great
Now my nerdy brain is just like, I want a VHS of my movie. Like I'm going to do that for myself. And oh god,
you have to do that now.
Now I have to.
Because it's hip.
I cannot not do that now. Oh my god.
Some of our from it came from the 508. They put out a couple of their movies on VHS. They did like a limited run of VHS. They did like 25 of them.
So, Generation X is where it's at, baby. That's where it's at. Generation X. Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah, but you got to make sure you do a clamshell because you can't beat that.
Oh, no, 100%.
It's great. Yeah. Yeah. You need
All my old like Disney like VHSs are like they're melted. It's like awful.
Yeah, it happens.
I'll give you another one since Phil wants something new, and I mentioned actually at the beginning of the show. It's a horror comedy. Velocipaster is phenomenal.
Velocipaster. Where can I watch that? Is that on Vudu?
Yeah, it's a VOD.
Yeah, you can rent it anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can tell you, I have.
I buy a lot of horror movies on Vudu.
Yeah, you can get it on Vudu for like
Okay,
$9.99 or less. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys see The Empty Man?
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Isn't that awesome? Dude,
You know,
that was a total surprise too. It was just this, and everybody talks about the first act, you know, the part in Bhutan, but the best part is all the sci-fi stuff at the end. That is friggin' awesome. But go on, you were talking about.
No, yeah. Chris Stuckman, the YouTuber, recommended it, and I was just like, and I was literally in like knee deep of finishing my script, and I was like, I need all the inspiration I can get.
Yeah, that's a good one for it too.
No, I watched it, and then I didn't really. At first, I was like, "What the hell is this movie?"
It is strange.
It was one of those movies where you have to let it sit for a second.
Right,
right. I went over to my parents' house, and I was like, "Oh, Mom, I have this like horror movie I think you would like." And then I watched it with her again, and you have a different experience watching it again when you know stuff.
Right.
When you know about the story. You see things differently. I appreciated it more then.
I was the same way. I watched the first time, and I was like, obviously the Bhutan scene's awesome, and then the beginning's pretty solid, but then the middle kind of drags, and then the ending is unbelievable. And so I was like, I don't know if I like. And then 24 hours later, I'm thinking about it. That was a friggin' awesome movie. That was a really good movie. Yeah,
that
Disney's
was his first movie too, which is awesome.
Yes, it was his first movie. Yeah, Disney screwed that one up too, because that was part of their Fox buyout of 20th Century Fox, and when they got it, they didn't know what to do with it, and they just dumped it on during COVID, and it was terrible.
I mean, it's crazy that a movie like that even existed. Considering the high production value for that movie.
Right. That's exactly. I'm completely shocked. That's like a film that you would see done by an indie director or something, and that would go to festivals. Yeah. That was a solid film. I almost said that one, but that was a damn good choice. Yeah. That's awesome.
For folks who are wondering, Velocipaster is streaming on Prime and on Fubo, but you can buy it pretty much anywhere. I have this app called Just Watch. So you put in.
Yeah, it's a great app.
App. Just Watch. Okay.
Yeah, you put in what streaming services you have, and then it'll tell you I have those too, and it's like you can get it.
And you can also just go to justwatch.com too. So it's not just an app; it's a whole thing.
No.
So yeah,
that is literally one of the questions that we have to face. That I'm constantly asking my girlfriend.
Where can I see it? And that.
Yeah.
There you go.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
dude, whenever Empty Man is named, that's obscure film like that. That's awesome.
I haven't seen that one, but I will check.
I don't know if you'll like it. It depends. Everybody's different, but it's a pretty solid film. It's a pretty awesome film.
Yeah, when you see that it's sort of like in its own weird way, a critique on like what religion is and its influence. Like there's so much metaphors and references in that movie that I was like, okay. It's very long, though. It's a long one.
Yeah, it's 2 hours and 17 minutes, which is another weird thing for a mainstream film. And then, I mean, you could say it has something to do with religion, but it's more kind of for cultish. I don't know. I didn't really get the. Yeah,
it gets a lot of occultish vibes to it, 100%.
Yeah, because it doesn't really bash religion at all. It's really something else completely different. Yeah,
well, it looks interesting.
Yeah. Some of my favorite recently, at least one of the main inspirations for this movie that I'm working on is I would say like the first 38 minutes of The Ritual.
That's awesome. Yeah, I saw that. I saw that in your trailer that you put up for your Kickstarter.
That's one of those movies where I was like, dude, the beginning of this movie is so solid.
Awesome.
Like that up to that scene where they're in the cabin and then like he walks in on his friend and his friend's sleeping but he's praying to the statue.
Right.
That was I haven't gotten chills like that in the movie since like Wreck 2.
Right.
You guys familiar with Wreck 2?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah.
It's probably my favorite horror movie, to be honest with you.
I
certainly up there.
photoshopped Rec 4, the girl with the chainsaw for Rec 4 into our
No,
wedding.
that's actually Rec 3. That's
Rec
actually
3. Okay, yeah, not the quarantine one.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Rec
yeah,
3 is
yeah,
the one
yeah.
in the wedding. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that was good. That was a good one too, because it was kind of horror comedy.
My wife at our wedding.
Nice.
Yeah. So no. Again, I took a lot of influence from that movie because I was just like, they're filming in an incredibly beautiful location, which is a lot like where we're filming. And, I sort of took I was like, what if the beginning of that movie what if it was only 36-minute movie, after they left the cabin and you never find out what happened to them. I was just like, once it starts getting too crazy with the monster and the Norse god and whatever, I was just like, okay, this movie got a little too wild.
Yeah. What's funny is that most people oddly like that part better than the first part, but I'm with you. I love the first part. It was friggin' awesome.
It was very Blair Witch like, and
yeah, that's true.
The first one, not the remake.
No, the
the sequel. Yeah, that sequel.
What sequel?
No, I'm saying, it was more like the first Blair Witch, not like.
Oh, yeah. Only the first one.
Brontosaurus Rex.
Right.
Yeah, I actually rewatched the Blair Witch 2 and the first one to try to get inspiration. Because again, my movie in the elevator pitch is, a bunch of campers go hiking in the woods and wander into place somewhere they're not supposed to be. So I sort of went through the list of movies that take that element of being lost somewhere where you can't get out. So Predators was one of them. I love Predators. I know, people hate that movie, but The Ritual.
I thought Predators was awesome. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, I too am a big fan of the kind of like isolation films. Like Mads Mikkelsen did one called Arctic, where he was
excellent movie.
Like that one, Alive,
So
very
good.
simple. The Abyss, Alien. Like anytime you have these this is where we are, which is why I liked the Super Deep quite a bit because of the way that's all set up.
Yeah,
It's like anytime you
remoteness.
have that- yeah, it's not like you're super far away. It's like
Right. Well, even like Jeepers Creepers, that film, that the first hour and 10 minutes of that film is unbelievable, and then the monster comes in, and it's like, a lot of people like that part, but the first hour and 10 minutes was just phenomenal, because
Yeah, it was a lot-
middle
it
of
was-
cornfields, middle of nowhere. Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah.
like even Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like there's some great isolation there.
That's a great film. Yeah.
Nowhere, middle of nowhere, Texas, and
Yeah. There's a lot of Twilight Zone episodes that I pulled from as well. I don't know if you guys are. I'm actually. What am I saying? Of course, you guys are fan of Twilight Zone. I mean, you have to be. In particular, I'd have to look it up, but it's the episode where there is an ex-Nazi Navy pilot who is stuck in a time loop where he's living out the last day of his life over and over and over again, but he doesn't know he's a. Are we allowed to curse on this podcast?
Oh yeah.
All right, so he doesn't know he's a piece of shit, but he's kind of acting like a piece of shit throughout the entire thing. And the more you find out about him, the more you start to hate him. And I really played around with that premise of introducing a character that you're probably feeling sympathetic towards. Then you find out what's really going on with him and why he's suffering these consequences. You're just like, good. You know what? You belong in this hell. So, spoilers. There's no good characters in Silent Hill. So,
we just did a Twilight Zone special, and I rewatched the very first pilot. And if you haven't watched that, another isolation type story that really messes you up.
Well, I mean,
that one. I'm sorry. Go on. I'm sorry.
I was just saying, think about the writers that you had on it. Ray Bradbury, Richard Matheson, Rod Serling himself. Like the ending of the original Planet of the Apes film, that was Rod Serling. Like because
he wrote it.
The ending.
I completely forgot about that. Wow.
The ending of the book is much closer to the Mark Wahlberg Tim Burton version. Like that's very faithful to the book. He took this whole you were on Earth the entire time thing. Like that's why it's such an impact, and people who have never seen the movie know that the Statue of Liberty in the middle of the desert. Like that's how they know that, because Rod Serling produced.
You're kind of blowing my mind right now. Like, 'cause I had no idea that Rod Serling was connected to the original Planet of the Apes, and now that I think about it, Planet of the Apes, like at least the first one, is like a really long Twilight Zone episode.
It really
Holy
is.
Shit.
Yeah,
Holy shit!
That's why, because he
Now
wrote
I have to watch that movie again.
Right.
Oh my God.
It's a weird thing too, because the book was written by the same guy that wrote The Bridge Over the River Kwai. Yeah, which is kind of weird, Yeah, it's just like his only quote unquote science fiction book. It's more of an allegory than science fiction.
Yeah, because everybody spoke French. Like all the apes were able to speak French.
Yeah,
But
but Leo, that first episode that you mentioned is excellent. I don't know if you ever saw the episode 5 characters are stuck in a box or try to escape a box. It's like the 5th or 4th season, but it's just literally just takes place in a small room, and there's just 5 people in the room. They don't know who each other are or how they got in this box, and they're all trying to get out, but they're bickering and fighting amongst each other. And I love that premise. And again, it's trying to work with a small budget with an indie flick, you want to be able to see like how are some of these masters able to tell these excellent and like interesting stories in like just a very confined location. So
well, and it also shows you that all these people, younger folk who are listening to this podcast, see films like Escape Room or whatever, and they say, "Wow, this is all original." That stuff was done, 57 years ago in the Twilight Zone, or Outer Limits or something. So it's kind of funny.
Also, if you think about it, though, rewatching some of those, like when we had our special, and I was rewatching some of the episodes. Because they're in black and white and the way they were filmed, that itself, since I'm so far off from seeing stuff like that, it's really unsettling. And I would think maybe if somebody made a film like that, filmed on older cameras in black and white or something like that, it definitely would, like some of the old Japanese horror movies, just the way they're filmed, it just adds that extra level of
it's called the film noir effect from the Germans, and it was just ripped off by the Japanese and the Americans. Really, that's all it is. And with the shadows and whatnot, I mean, Psycho is another example of that, right? So
Nosferatu,
yeah, there you go. There it is. The German stuff, German expressionism and the film noir stuff and all that good stuff. Yeah,
like just creating the shadows on the wall and whatnot. Yeah,
exactly. Yep.
I still think this episode of the Twilight Zone is I shot an arrow into the air. It's the premise alone of that episode is absolutely just creepy. It's about 3 pilots who go into space, but then they crash land and only 2 of them are left. But the first one is wiped from existence and nobody remembers who he is except for one person. But then that person gets deleted, and it's just it's so unsettling. And it's weird because I watch that now, and I think a lot of times if you were able to create this this concept of horror, this sort of weird concept like they did in that episode, and the way they let it sink in to your skin of how creepy it could be, I absolutely love it. So, shout out to that episode.
Oh yeah, they did so many amazing things, and so many of that stuff has either been copied or parodied. Like so much of the Simpsons Halloween specials revolved around various Twilight Zone episodes.
Yeah. When I started getting into the Twilight Zone in like high school, I started to realize that like almost every horror concept that I was familiar with at the time, I was like, oh, this is all Twilight Zone inspired from. Like that's kind of all where it came from. So,
yeah, like any idea of like a talking doll trying to kill you. It's like, yeah, that already happened to Telly Savalas, or like these great twists. I forget the name of it, but it's like this woman has like these tiny little astronauts in her house, and she's trying to fight them, and they're like shooting at her with laser beams, and like she finally catches one and kills them, and she finds the spaceship as it's trying to take off, and she smashes it and destroys it, and they're sending out a distress signal, and they're just kind of like panning over the smoking, smoldering wreckage of this like 2.5 foot wide, spaceship, and as you're panning across it, it says United States Air Force on it, and it's just like, what?
Gosh.
Yeah. Well, what was it? The great screenwriter Dan O'Bannon, filmmaker too. He used to just say that there's nothing original anymore because writing has been around for hundreds of years. He says what it is you just take other people's ideas and you make them your own, and that's what he did with Alien, and that's what he did with Return of the Living Dead, and on and on. So all these people that you see all these great movies nowadays, they took stuff from Serling and all that from years ago. I mean, even, and as I said, Serling, he took stuff from the German Expressionists. So it's just interesting how film has developed, or storytelling, I should say, has developed, in the past 50 years, never mind since beginning of film,
Yeah. One of the genres that I think is very hard to tap into, or that I haven't particularly seen done well since probably, I don't know if you would call this particularly straight horror. It's more of like horror, black comedy, but I think American Psycho is just
that's
one of
great. You ever read the book?
It's top
The book
5
is
films
phenomenal.
for me. Well, I read the book and it's absolutely
phenomenal.
ludicrous.
It's hilarious.
What? The lady at Barnes and Noble was just like, "Do you know what's in this book?" And I'm like, "Ma'am, I'm 22 years old. I'm pretty sure." Yes, I'm very aware.
But it's just hilarious. It has
of the many chapters of Whitney Houston that I'll have to go through. But no, I to be completely honest with you, when I get to the level that I still have a lot of bench pressing to do, but I would love to do something very much in the vein of American Psycho. I wouldn't want to remake it or adapt it, but very much that there's just something so brilliant about that movie. I just absolutely obsessed with it, and it just makes me laugh and chuckle every time. And every time I watch it, I see something, and I come off with a different perception of this movie. And I don't know. I think that's
the movie's really good, but no disrespect to the movie, the book is just even better.
If you're a fan,
the very last line of the book, "This is not an exit," just sums up the whole friggin' thing. It's just awesome. She should have had that. She should have had that in the movie. She didn't. But what do you do?
The one of the bands I am a huge fan of, Ice Nine Kills, whose name is derived from a Vonnegut story. They just released,
it does. Yeah, well done.
Their first single of their new album, The Silver Scream 2, and they tell a whole story with their music videos, and the first one is called "It's Hip to Be Scared," and it's American Psycho.
That's
like
awesome.
in their previous album, they didn't do videos for everything, but some of the movies they covered, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Jaws, Texas Chainsaw, like tons of these different movies, and they have.
That's an awesome reference to American Psycho.
They're a horror rock band, and like they have a one album called Every Trick in the Book, and it's all about different books that they've read, including a story called The People, a song called The People in the Attic, based on the diary of Anne Frank. So like they're drawing from a bunch of different places.
Wow.
So like you're talking about, where you're getting your inspiration from, like. But I would recommend checking out the.
No, I definitely will. Little reference here. In my movie Ash, all my characters are named after some of my favorite directors that have done some of my favorite horror. Even though one of them didn't do really horror, but I love his concepts because they scare me.
If I get into Jack for a second, that's good that you do that, because if the first Silent Hill game, all the streets are named after famous horror authors and directors and such.
Yeah. Also, it reminds me too, because like in the old like Castlevania NES games, like when you go through the credits, they're all like fake like horror actor and director's name, like Chorus Barloff, and like just they do all these little plays, and I love stuff like that. So speaking of American Psycho, one of my characters, Mary, is named after director of that movie, Mary Herron. I have a character named Nolan for Christopher Nolan. I think I'll tell you the idea of Inception and like what was his first movie, Memento, and like a lot of his concepts, they're not horror in nature, but they can be used in horror because like they're very like Twilight Zone concepts very high concept. Then I have my guilty pleasure. My main character is named after Zack Snyder. And I love Zack Snyder because when I was 13 years old, gosh, I was like 13 years old, and I could not watch horror movies. I couldn't. I was too scared. But my best friend got me to go see Dawn of the Dead. And Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead was like the first horror movie that I sat through in a theater. And the adrenaline and like the rush that I got from, and that was also my first zombie movie. I was just like, holy crap, horror movies are actually kind of cool. So I have a very deep love and respect for Zack Snyder. And then obviously
Dawn of the Dead, Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, in my opinion, is possibly my first, second, or third favorite zombie film of all time. And actually, you know who wrote the screenplay for that?
Hold on, James Gunn.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well done. Yeah. Speaking of Silent Hill and the nod to horror writers, like the streets, just to give a few of the streets, Finney Street is for Jack Finney for the Invasion of Body Snatchers. Block Street, obviously for Psycho, Robert Bloch. Matheson Street, obviously Richard Matheson. I am a legend. Bachman Road is obviously for Stephen King. Bradbury Street, Ray Bradbury. Levine Street for the guy that wrote Rosemary's Baby. Elvish. What's that?
Or Ted Levine, who played Buffalo Bill.
Yeah, but no, actually, there's a Harris Street for the guy that wrote Hannibal Lecter. Thomas. Thank you. So they already had a street for him, Harris Street, and this one here, Levine, was actually for Ira Levine, the writer for Rosemary's Baby. But so they did the same thing actually in the video game. And when you bring up the map, I remember bringing up the map in game one when I first played the game and saw all those street names, and I knew a lot of them and stuff. But yeah, that's cool. Hopefully you do that too. You have your Easter eggs in your movie.
And my last character is obviously to the horror master, Mr. John, for John Carpenter, and The Thing is one of my favorite movies.
Right. Now, is Ash obviously for Evil Dead?
No, it's funny. There was no title for the movie at first because originally, like I said, it started off as a fan project where we're like, oh, this is going to be a Silent Hill thing. So half the people were like, they didn't care. They're like, oh, let's just make a movie. The other half was like, maybe it should just be, it's an original thing. So originally I was just going to call the movie A Silent Hill when it was a fan film. And then when
A Silent Hill,
A Silent Hill. And then and then one day me and my friend Renzo, who helped me write the original treatment for the story, when the story was like not even Silent Hill, it was about like aliens like screwing with some kids who were lost in the woods. He sort of he kind of like just improvised that name on the fly. He said Ash, that stands for A Silent Hill, and so we just kind of kept that, and it just kind of stuck. So
nice.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah, I know we are running on a little bit of time, so I apologize for running a little late. So I know we talked a lot about Silent Hill and horror and stuff like that. Just to toss it real quick before we go, for video games, what's your favorite games right
now? My favorite game of all time is Final Fantasy IX. My favorite game currently of the current era would probably be Persona 5. It's a Japanese RPG game, and I think the story in that game is absolutely brilliant. A lot of people will say that you can't find good story in video games. I think some of the best stories that I've come across have been in video games.
Oh yeah, sure.
Many, many years. And the science fiction and the way that they deal with psychology, I'm very fascinated by psychology told within the realm of fiction, and I think Persona really does an excellent job of playing around with a fantastical element of that. And also, I don't know if I want to break this on your show, but I have good reason to confirm that through some anonymous tips that Hideo Kojima is legitimately working on a Silent Hill game that is
very nice.
That that there was an internet rumor going on lately. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the whole Blue Box conspiracy, where there seems to be a fake video game studio that kind of popped up out of nowhere teasing this game called Abandon. And a lot of people have been speculating that this is secretly a revival of Silent Hills, and that Sony was able to mend the relationship with Kojima and Konami. So that'd be awesome. So if the information and the video that was sent to me was legitimate, then you heard it here first, folks.
That's crazy. Yeah. Well, I know there was rumor of Sony poaching him. Did Sony buy Konami, or are they?
No, Konami. From what I hear, they have been working with a couple teams right now to be able to sort of interject life into their old franchises. And I believe, from what I was told from my sources, that in around 2017, Sony was working on mending the relationship with Konami and Kojima because there was a falling out with them. So the rumor right now is that Blue Point, which is now a Sony-owned studio, or at least it should be by the time this podcast is live, is working on a Metal Gear Solid remake. So Sony is basically, at least from what they're doing, they're acquiring the IP, not like ownership of it, but they're like, hey, like, we'll fund this project if you allow us to use this content. So Silent Hill and Metal Gear Solid are the two games right now that we're doing.
Yeah. Konami is an independently owned company and is traded on the Japanese stock market, and you can get shares in the U.S. stock market, which I have 100. So.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Very cool.
It has been a good stock for me. I've made a couple of grand off it. I bought it nice and cheap, and it.
Well, I mean, their stock for Konami is about to go up if this Silent Hill once it's revealed.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
100%.
Indeed.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What about you, Phil?
My favorite video games, I would say Far Cry 5 is my favorite. That game is awesome. And then Fallout 4 is awesome. And I did love that the new Cyberpunk game. That was really awesome. So those are three, and then of course Silent Hills. The first Silent Hill, even though I know 2 and it gets all the buzz, and 3 was awesome, but the first one just blew me out of what it has a soft spot for me. And Silent Hill 1 is just awesome. Yeah. I was bummed when they didn't remake Silent Hill 1 and they just went straight to Silent Hill 2. And it was like, oh, come on.
It'd be awesome if Blue Point were to remake Silent Hill 1.
Yeah, indeed.
Patsy?
I got to concur with Phil on Fallout 4. I've played that game through to completion, I don't know, 25, 30 times.
I blame you, PJ, because I've been playing it for the past 6 months because of you. Because I had played it 2 years ago, and then I just started up again when you mentioned it to me.
Do you guys prefer Fallout 4 over 3 in New Vegas?
Yeah. Well, it's Boston, dude. It's Boston. That's where we're. That's where me and PJ are from, Boston. Actually, I like Vegas. Yeah, Vegas was awesome too. That was a good one.
Yeah, that seems to be everyone's favorite.
I just bought it from the computer. Like, they had a sale on Steam, so I bought it was like $22 with like all the expansions and everything. So it's like, nice. My computer, and I can play with some of these mods that I haven't been able to use on PlayStation. So now I'm gonna do this. But I've been playing a lot of, obviously, Resident Evil Village. I think I've beaten that since it came out. I think I've beaten it 6 times.
And that's another thing. I bought that game. I pre-ordered it. And I have not played it because of PJ forcing me to go back to Fallout 4.
Some of the jump scares that go on in this, like
it's sitting in my shelf. I'm literally waiting. At this point, I'm just gonna wait till October, and I need some new headphones because I can't play a horror video game without the headphones.
Oh, you need the headphones.
I need a good sound system or something to be able to do it. TV speakers won't cut it.
I've beaten it on every difficulty, and I will say, level up your guns and get the stake magnum before you go and try and tackle
that. Patsy, that's pretty impressive, because I will say, I don't know if you guys know, Resident Evil is very notorious for being ridiculously punishing on the harder difficulties. So holy crap! I mean, I can't even do hard mode. I did like the first 20 minutes of hard mode in Resident Evil 2, and I was like, no, I can't. No. Let me just restart this again, play it normal.
Well, what's nice is you get to, as you're going through, it's like, oh, I got the shotgun, but it's like, yeah, but there's like 4 shotguns. And then it's like, as you go through, you get better and better ones. And as you go through and complete things, you get different upgrades, like infinite ammo. You can get infinite ammo on all of your guns.
Yeah, you're
Now,
able to just
the stake gun that you say, who do you need to have it for before you go see them?
Village of Shadows. Like if you try to do Village of Shadows, it's a super high powered Magnum, and you have to max it out, and then you can get infinite ammo. But like it took 4 or 5 playthroughs before I could max it out.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So like, because it's incremental each time, and there's like lots of different things that you have to do, different places you have to go.
Are you achievement hunting in that game, or?
Yeah, I'm.
How's the 100% or platinum looking like? Is it tough?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things you have to do is beat the game in under 3 hours, and it's like, I did it. I think I did it in 244, but like it was on like my most recent playthrough, so I had like the infinite shotgun, the infinite this amazing rifle that's just the greatest, and the infinite Magnum, because you can you level up all your stuff, the power and like the clip size. So this thing has like a clip size of 28. Plus I found like one of the first things you do is like, hey, survive this attack, and like it's at the very beginning of the game, and you're like, all right, all these guys are coming at me, where do I go? Like I found a specific place to stand there, and they'll just come at you one at a time. But then this huge guy comes with a hammer and like just wrecks your whole day. And
they seem a lot nicer than in like Resident Evil 2. Resident Evil 2 has a trophy where it's like beat the game without firing a single shot from any gun, and I'm like,
oh no, there's one of those too. You only use melee weapons, and it's like, although if you beat like the mercenary modes on certain places, like I haven't come close to this, but like beat the mercenary mode, like you get a specific level and a specific achievement, and you get a lightsaber. Like one of the things you have to do, one of the achievements, use your knife to knock an arrow out of the air that's being fired at you. It's like, yeah, good luck with that. I did it by accident. I didn't even want to equip my knife, and I went to block it, swatted the arrow out of the air. I was like, yeah, I knew I was going to do that. Like there's one at the beginning, you have no idea to do it. It's called Goal. You bring your daughter up into bed, you put her into the crib, and there's like a ball in the room. Like if you kick the ball into your office, like you get an achievement for that. It's like, wait, what?
What? Okay. That's weird.
But the opening, because it picks up right after 7. It's like,
yeah, I heard. No.
A couple years after that, and it's like everything that I was like, what just happened? What is going on? Why is this? Whoa.
I couldn't even tell you what anything is going on in any of the Resident Evil games, like at all. I love those games. I played all of them. Just don't know what the hell's going on at all.
Yeah, just I love them. I will.
No, I love them to do that. I've been playing a lot of before Leo goes. You guys, you got your PS5s or Xbox Series X? No, man, I've been playing. When I do have time, I've been playing a lot of Demon Souls. I don't know if you guys are into the Soul series.
I heard that was going to be amazing. It looked incredible.
It's frustrating. It'll make you throw your controller, but it's a good time. Leo, what have you been playing?
Well, I've been playing the game of trying to get a PS5.
I might be able to help you out with that. So if I know, I was able to get some of my friends' PS5s, so I'll keep that in mind. You're on Twitter, right?
I am.
All right. I'll stay in touch.
Sounds good. But yeah, other than that, favorite game, I mean, Zelda, the original Zelda, but recently, well, you guys talk about Fallout 4. I was more of a Skyrim guy. I own way too many copies of that. I bought it for PS3, PS4, and then you had to get like the deluxe version for PS4, multiple versions on PC. It's just scary. But horror games, Days Gone is fucking amazing.
I like that.
Yeah, it's in the beginning it got bad reviews because it was real buggy, but once they fixed it, the game is
Yeah,
phenomenal.
they patched it up, man.
Oh yeah, really good.
Yeah, it was just free on PlayStation Network or
Oh, it was
PS Plus or whatever recently.
Oh, nice. Horizon Zero Dawn is friggin' amazing.
That was just free too. I just got that one.
Oh my god, love that game. And Ghost of Tsushima. Holy shit, is that good?
I still
That's a
haven't-
beautiful game. It's a beautiful game.
Yeah.
Oh, and Manhunter. Not Manhunter.
Manhunter. Yeah.
Manhunter's awesome.
Man Eater. Man
Eater.
Man Eater, yeah.
The shark game.
By the end of that game, you're like a mechanical shark with like 8 fins and like
Yeah, you
shoot
can
rockets
upgrade-
and laser beams. It's awesome.
But it's not quite like that. But yeah, you do get different evolutions where you like. I always go with the bone fins because I like ramming boats.
I think some of the that's on PC, right? Because I think they added like some of the modders. It's like
the mod. Yeah,
around.
modders will definitely do that.
It's so ridiculous. They modded the hell out of that game. It's funny.
Yeah, no mods on PlayStation, unfortunately. But yeah, it's a huge. It's a lot of fun.
They had this funny mod for PC for Resident Evil 2 where the guy who follows you around is Pennywise, where they just replace it with Pennywise, which is funny. Like they did for other ones where like it's like the Kool-Aid man is following you around. It's so good.
Oh, the original Doom. I love that. That was that was the reason I upgraded to Windows. To be honest, a buddy of mine said, "Did you just buy that PC?" Because we were all green screen back in the day, and then the Doom came out, and we were playing at work, and I said, "Oh, I got to buy a new PC." And my buddy asked me, he goes, "Did you really buy that PC for that?" And I go, "Yeah, just for the game."
You know, the last two Dooms were more like the original than like all the others.
Yeah. The new Doom is awesome. I just played that this year, and it was phenomenal. And they had the downloadable content that just came out, and it was just good. So I got to see if the third one came out yet, because I paid for the whole package, the $90 for the download.
For the DLC. Yeah. Doom Eternal was pretty awesome. It's a very fast paced game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Use up all the ammo really quickly.
If you're playing that game on PC, it's absolutely nuts. There's people who are playing that game at like 240 frames per second, like in like 8K. They're like ultra widescreen monitors. I'm just like, Jesus Christ.
Right. Yeah. A lot of people are connected to their like 4K TV and all that stuff. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. I want to thank you all for joining us today, and I want to remind everybody that definitely check out A Silent Hill. Information is in the show notes up above or down below, depending on where you're watching or listening to us. And there is a Kickstarter, so we urge you to definitely check it out. And we love supporting indie creators, and I'm sure you do as well. So definitely check out the Kickstarter. So, Aiko, where do you like people interacting with you on social media?
Yes, you guys could follow me. My social media tag. I'm mostly active on Twitter and Instagram, which is Aiko the Rain Man. It's all one word. And you guys could keep up with updates that I'll be posting along for the movie and my nerdy gamer life up there. So, and you could also follow me on YouTube, which is youtube.com/Operation 5am.
Very cool. And I think I have those links in the show notes as well. So you don't need to remember them. Philip.
All right, I just started following you on Twitter. You can find me at the Dark Discussions News Network, which is www.darkdiscussions.com. It's an all-news network for genre and pop culture news, and we just had our 10th year anniversary, March 13th, 2011 to March 13th, 2021. You can also find us on Facebook at Dark Discussions Podcast Facebook group.
Awesome. Patsy.
Well, you can find me here pretty much every Monday and every Thursday on Throwdown Thursday podcast, and that's everywhere podcasts are found. You can also find us at throwdownthursdaypodcast.com with all the new articles and stuff. I just did one recently that Disney is clearly spying on me because I did a bunch of characters from different fandoms and real life that I think could lift Mjolnir and wield it. And one of those characters was Lisa Simpson. So if you've seen the new short, The Good, the Bart, and the Loki, you'll know that they ripped off my idea because like 3 days after My article was posted, so clearly they're spying on me.
Interesting.
And also this Saturday, the 17th of July, it's a very special holiday that has been around for a couple of years now. It is St. Branrick Powhall Day. So our good friend, Powerful Brandon, and I will be live for several hours on Saturday, and we will be riffing on a couple of movies, because this has been something that people have been asking us to do. So we're going to be riffing on Backstroke of the West, The Third Gathers, which, if you are unfamiliar with that, is essentially Revenge of the Sith translated into Chinese and back into English. And we'll also be doing Birdemic, Shock and Terror.
Awesome. So I guess you can say, instead of Simpsons did it, Patsy did it?
Yeah. So if the Simpsons predict the future and I predict the Simpsons, that makes me like some sort of, I don't know, wizard or something. I don't know.
Or creates like a paradox, and everything is going to implode upon itself. Yeah. Yeah, totally. And for me, just Google Leo Pond. You find a bunch of stuff. Could be true, could be not. But more importantly, follow these awesome people. Go follow and support Ash, a Silent Hill. And, I run a little thing called the Dorkening Podcast Network. I'm working on the website. So the Dorkening.com, it needs a revision. So go to the Dorkening Podcast Network.com. That's where you can find the newest one, and all the shows are up there. And follow these awesome people. And with that, we will catch you guys later. Bye.
Take care.
Don't go anywhere.